Joining us now is Hank Smith, Chief Investment Officer at Haverford Trust Company, where he helps manage $6 billion in assets. Hank, not a bad day for the markets. The Dow closing up above 12,000, the S&P above 1,300. What do you think about the rally that we're seeing in the face of the chaos, in the face of the unrest, really the uprising in Egypt?
Well, I think, Matt, it confirms that we really are in a bull market and that fundamentals do matter, that the Egyptian crisis is not going to alter the global recovery and have no impact really on the U.S. recovery. So economic growth is reaccelerating off of the summer slow patch. Corporate earnings are robust, corporate balance sheets are fortress-like, and valuations are attractive. It's a good combination to be an equity investor.
But Hank, help me out here, because we talk a lot about the contagion effect here, and we are seeing things happening in Jordan and elsewhere. If this grows to be a much bigger movement, as it certainly feels at this moment, then what? Is it still something that we can shrug off and just focus on U.S. corporate profits and so on and valuations?
Well, Carol, I've got to admit I was surprised over the weekend. I fully expected the futures on Monday to be trading down. They traded up. So maybe the market knew that the outcome in Egypt wasn't going to be a terrible outcome a la the Shah of Iran overthrow. And maybe that's what the market is telling us, so that the contagion won't really be that bad.
Let's bring everybody another headline as we monitor that presidential speech, by Hosni Mubarak. It's a televised speech. He's also apparently saying he did not intend to run in the next election. He's calling Parliament to discuss an amendment to the Constitution. So a lot of things being said. I wonder if we can bring in John Brady. He's Senior VP of MF Global. He's out at the CME Group in Chicago. John, tell me, when you guys come in the morning and you're seeing the stuff that's happened in Egypt and elsewhere, I mean, do you shrug it off or what? How's it kind of playing into your thinking here about the outlook?
Well, I do think the markets are shrugging it off, and it's being reflected in today's performance in major equity markets. I think it's become clear to market participants, Carol, that there's going to be probably one of two solutions to the Egypt equation. Either the vice president, Mr. Suleiman, will take over, or former UN envoy and Representative El Barderi will take over. And to Western investors, those choices are rather calming. I would argue that really the test case now will be a spreading of this protest to the Middle East. And since Saudi Arabia remains the marginal producer of oil globally, if protests were to spread to Saudi Arabia and sort of given the agnatic method that they use in order to appoint their successors, that's where perhaps volatility could re-enter the equity markets. But as for now and as for today, the two choices out of Egypt are lending itself to calm among Western investors.
Hey, John, it's Dominic here. One of the things that we've been talking about at length for the last couple of days here is this idea that all these Egypt ETFs or Africa ETFs are actually trading up. The Egypt ETF, especially given the fact that local markets are still closed. What's the rationale there? Is this short covering, or are people really taking a view that things are pretty much at the lower part, the bottom, if you will, and trying to buy value here, John?
I think it's the latter, Dominic. Again, I think that the view that's emerging is that one of two leaders will emerge here in Egypt. And there's not really any sign or really strong sign of radical Islamic fundamentalists playing a large role here in the next Egyptian government. So that acts as a rather pacifying effect for investors. So I think it's more of a buy the dip with many of these Egyptian ETFs.
Hank, we've got a big jobs report, economic report coming our way on Friday. I mean, at some point, do we kind of shift again towards that focus, or is it hard to because of everything that's happening overseas?
Well, ultimately, you have to look. We know that we've transitioned now, when you look at GDP, from a recovery to a sustainable expansion, when you look at real GDP exceeding its previous peak. But it's not going to get the attention it deserves until the jobs picture improves. So that's the last ingredient. We think it will start to improve. There's a lot of pent-up demand economically that's being unleashed. But the jobs number is important.
All right. Hey, guys, we're going to have to leave it there. Hank Smith, Chief Investment Officer at Haverford Trust. John Brady out there in Chicago. Guys, thank you so much for walking us through the close. We appreciate it. All right, now.